What is up, wrestling friends? This is American Women's Wrestling Radio. Welcome you today to today's show. We have Adrian Coach Cliff Cushard on with us today. Welcome, Coach.
Thank you for having me.
As I always do, I want to make sure the technology is working well. You said you've been doing a lot of Zoom meetings, so you understand how these things can go sometimes. Yeah, we are live. We're good. All right. So Coach Cliff Cushard was promoted to head coach for the women's program in 2017 after serving as an assistant for both the men and women's program for the Adrian Bulldogs since 2015. Coach Cushard led his program to a top 10 finish this year at the WCWA Nationals and also hosted the inaugural NCAA event, the Cliff Cushard National Collegiate Women's Wrestling Championships. And we said that name correct, right?
You did. You did a fine job. There's been a lot of different names going around for the tournament.
Yeah, that was one thing we definitely wanted to do today was set the record straight. It is not the WCWC Nationals. It's not the NCAA Championships yet. It is the Cliff Cushard National Collegiate Women's Wrestling Championships.
Absolutely. It's a mouthful. NCWWC is the short form.
All right. Well, hey, we're glad you did it. It's an exciting time for women's college wrestling and for NCAA programs. So, of course, you hosted it, so it was pretty cool.
We thought so. Yeah, it ran really well. We of course learned things that we can get better at, and we luckily have been given a chance to do it again next year. So we're going to make those improvements and try to make it an even better experience than it was.
Great. So you have a 2-year contract?
I guess the way it worked, it was kind of last minute this last year. They put it out for I guess you can call it, put it out for bids. There were 5 or 6 places that wanted to host. We were awarded that spot. We ran it, and then after the tournament, the executive board met and approved us for a second year, which I'm both happy and not happy about because it's a ton of work. But it's an honor to host something like that, and we're happy to do it a second time around.
Yeah, I mean, you're part of history, right?
I think the intent is that.
Oh.
Exactly, yeah, and I think the intent is that they'll put it up for 2-year cycles going forward, as long as needed.
Very cool. Well, congrats on that. It was a great event, really, really special to be a part of. I love how you had the preliminary rounds in that field house, and then moving it to the I don't know what you call that place, but the place that had more auditorium seating. That was a really nice touch. It was a great environment for the finals.
Yeah, we've hosted the girls' high school state championships the last few years as well.
Oh, okay.
So we use that same format for the girls' high school.
Okay.
And it does work. When you've got a large group, it's great to have that bigger space, more mats, and then take it down to one mat and make it special.
Yeah, it was nice as somebody that was filming to get on the right side of the mat and get the crowd behind and try to get the gallery of whatever wrestler was on the mat and to see the exciting responses. It was really it was a great event, a great atmosphere, and I mean as an inaugural event, what a great way to start. So how you been doing during the quarantine? I mean, it sounds like you're still busy. Has your life slowed, same, or sped up?
Sped up. I always keep myself busy anyway, but all the Zoom meetings and all of the other planning and extra paperwork and things that have occurred, I'm probably more busy than normal. We're recruiting like mad, even though we're in a weird time. We're still recruiting hard, and that's going to go on for at least another month, it looks like, for this incoming class.
Now, you've got to help me. We have this tradition on our show where this is our 29th show. Okay, so early on, we were using the numbers to try to make a wrestling connection. Like the number 15 was easy because that's a folk style tech. We're on show number 29 now, so you are our 29th show. So we've been using states in alphabetical order, and the state that's come up this time is New Hampshire. And God help me to make a wrestling connection with New Hampshire. Do you have any?
Well, I'm also the WIC director the state of Michigan, and a few years back, we did a joint team with New Hampshire
Oh, is that
at
right?
Fargo for the duels.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I did notice that 2019 cadet silver medalist Skylar Hattendorf is from New Hampshire. So that's a
Well,
nice
there you go.
connection for
There's
women's
another.
wrestling. And of course, hey man, you're talking about recruiting. You know that'd be a good one to land there. You know, just I don't know, putting that out there.
It certainly would.
Um, but this is how desperate I was to make a wrestling connection. I don't know if you know this, but WWE wrestler Triple H is also from New Hampshire. Have you ever heard of him before?
I've heard of him. I did not know that.
Yeah, I didn't know it either. Triple H stands for Hunter Hearst Helmsley. So for all those who just had to know that information today, Triple H is actually from New Hampshire. Put it on the map. So, all right. So I read in your bio that you were an architect for 20 years.
I am an architect, yes.
Are you still involved in that business?
A little here and there. I basically, when I had the opportunity to become a full-time head college coach, I put that to the side. I do a little here and there, but I don't do much. Don't have time.
Okay, well, I'm going to kind of take a little bit of an abstract approach to this question then. As an architect, the fact that you left, that firm that you founded tells me a couple things about you. Number one, that you love wrestling and, you love women's wrestling, which is pretty great. Secondly, it tells me that you know how to put things together. So here's my abstract question. How does your experience as an architect help you to construct a wrestler or construct a women's program? Does that have any parallel at all?
It does a bit, yeah. Both the people skills that I learned dealing with clients, getting them to be willing to open up and tell me what they really wanted in their project, whether it be a home or an office or a store, a hospital, a restaurant, whatever. A lot of people don't want to give you that honest answer. So being able to get a little bit deeper with people helps. And then, you start to take that information, you build your foundation just like anything else, and you keep building on top of that until you get them to where they need to be. I never really thought about it that way, but
I want to welcome our online audience. Anybody watching on Facebook, feel free to ask questions, and we'll be peeking at that thread, and I can bring any of those questions to Coach Cushard. So, talk about your season. You had a top 10 finish as a team, 10th actually at the WCWA's, 2 All-Americans, a national champion, and then 13th at the NC WWC event. Just how do you feel about your season? It seems like you had a lot of success.
Yeah, we've been getting progressively better. We just finished our 5th year in existence, and every year we improve, we get better. Obviously, that's always a coach's goal. And this year was going really, really well, and then we started to get some injury bugs hitting us.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, by the end of the season, we were missing a few key components, and that's I'm happy enough with the 13th finish. I think we had eight ladies competing, but you should always finish higher. Right, that should always be it should never be a factor.
Right, yeah, always aiming for more. But I mean, coming into this season, you previously only had 1 All-American from Adrian previously.
WCWA, we'd had several USA Wrestling All-Americans at Women's Nationals.
Okay, so this year in WCWA, you had Zoe Nowicki, of course, win it all, and then Cassidy Block, was an All-American. Nowicki was your program's first national champion. Can you talk about what that means for your program to be able to have that?
Oh, it means everything. The program, as it's been growing on campus, has been getting a lot of attention locally, and that's sort of just the capper. We're now established as one of the top programs at a school that's well known for its athletics, and in an area that's well known for its wrestling. We're blessed that we're in a community that's a huge wrestling area, and we get a lot of fan support and a lot of interest. So being able to bring something like that home, not only was it great for Zoe, it was great for the program, it was great for the whole community.
Well, what's cool is she's from Michigan, right? Yeah. So that's got to be great for her to, wrestle for a Michigan program and then, bring the first ever national title home to your program. Are you going to do anything to commemorate that? Like I know some programs put banners up on the walls or anything planned like that?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, we actually just the school purchased a building for us, so we're moving into a new wrestling building. It'll be under construction renovations over the next probably 2 seasons. We can't squeeze all the construction in at one time, and then obviously with the pandemic going on, it's kind of slowed down
Yeah.
construction even more. But we are in there practicing, and we'll be upgrading and making that our home. And it's when that is finished, we'll be having all kinds of banners and signs and things all over the walls. So absolutely, we will, like any good program, you have to honor all of your All-Americans and champions.
That's pretty cool. I have a personal connection with Zoe as well. I knew her one time, Coach Brent Harvey, of course, and
Yes.
being involved in New York wrestling. I have 3 daughters who wrestle, and my oldest daughter, when she was much smaller in high school, actually wrestled Zoe a number of times. So they were kind of rivals for a while. So it's really great to see Zoe have all that success, and congratulations for that.
Yeah, it's awesome, and she's only a sophomore. That's the best part of it. So
Yeah, exactly.
We got it for 2 more seasons and keep building.
Now, if you've seen our show, Coach, you know that we are not just we don't just interview. We're also a game show.
Of course.
Yeah. So today, I was glad to know that you are, have some familiarity with the Rocky movie and the Rocky series. So we are going to do some Rocky trivia today with Coach Cliff Cushard from Adrian College. And here's what's on the line. A crayon ring.
I was hoping it was a crayon ring.
I can give you a choice. Like we got green, that's sort of a brownish, and then we got this orange. I don't know if any of those go along with Adrian's colors or not.
We're black and gold, so whichever.
Okay, all right. And they're great. My son Jack makes them. I give him like a buck a ring and his chore chart, and they're great because you just put them on, and then you're like, hey, in the middle of the day, I want to color. You just put your hand down and just start coloring. It's just really an amazing little thing here.
It makes sense to me. I think it's a great thing.
Yeah, and I don't know any other wrestling, journalistic media service that gives those out in interviews. So I'm surprised it doesn't happen more. But so anyway, that's what's up. That's what's on the line, Coach.
All right.
So, just to make you more nervous. Now, the way this is going to work is it's just you have to get a majority of the questions right, and then you win the crayon ring.
Okay. All right.
Okay, here we go. Question number 1. Now, we're starting real easy here. If you don't get this, we might just have to bail on this whole thing, okay?
Oh boy.
Who was the actor that played Rocky?
That would be Sylvester Stallone.
Nailed it? Okay. Question number 2. What city was the movie filmed in?
Philadelphia.
Nailed it. That's 2. Good start, Coach. Number 3. What was Rocky's nickname?
The Italian Stallion.
Boom! 3-0, Coach. Undefeated so far. Nice job.
Now you're scaring me here. These are easy. You're going to give me some harder ones. I know.
Make it a little harder, but we like to make our guests feel good too. So I'm not going to try to embarrass you here, Coach. I want you to get that ring. All right, number 4.
I want it too.
What was the name of the Russian that Rocky fought in Rocky 4? First and last name.
I'm not certain it was Rocky 4, but I'm assuming it was Ivan Drago.
Nailed it. It was Rocky 4.
Excellent.
Okay, 4-0. All right, who killed Apollo Creed? Five seconds.
That was Ivan Drago.
Nailed it. Coach, what do? Do you go home is this how you rest? Did you just go home and watch Rocky movies?
I haven't watched a Rocky movie in years.
So you got a good memory then. All right, number 6. What was the name of Rocky's manager?
Ooh, I can picture his face.
If you give me either his first or last name, I'll give it to you.
I cannot remember.
It was Mickey Goldmill, Coach. Mickey.
There we go.
What was the name of Rocky's brother-in-law? Adrian's brother.
Yeah. See, now if you would have asked me his wife's name, I would have had that because obviously we
You
get
know,
lots of
I
those
should
Yo
say, Coach,
Adrian jokes around here.
I should say that's why we're doing this trivia. I forgot to make that connection. The reason we're doing
Okay,
Rocky trivia is because you are Adrian. So Yo Adrian plus
Yes,
the connection. There you go.
that's awesome. I'm glad you gave it that much thought. I
Yeah,
do not know
it
her.
took me a long time to
brother's
make
name.
that connection. Like, how do I, okay, so no go on Rocky's brother-in-law?
Nope.
Paulie. Who's Paulie? Okay, little tougher one. Who performed the song "I Live in America" live as Apollo Creed entered the ring against Ivan Drago?
That would be James Brown. That's
Oh,
not
you
hard at
nailed it!
all.
Nailed
I'm the
it.
right age for these, man. You got to remember.
That's pretty good. Okay, who was the name of Rocky's opponent in Rocky 3? Five seconds.
Hey, that's a tough one. I don't think it was, but Apollo Creed, perhaps.
That was number 2 and number 1. It was
Yeah, 1 and 2, right?
Clubber Lang is the answer. Clubber Lang.
Ah, yes. There we go.
You're still doing well, Coach. You still have a majority. You still have the crayon ring, assuming you keep get a few more of these right. What did Drago say to Rocky moments before the fight started in center ring?
I think it was "I will kill you."
Wrong answer. It was I must
break you.
Yes, I must break you. Okay. It's getting a little dicey here, Coach. What was the name of the actor that played Apollo Creed?
Ooh. Boy. Carl Weatherspoon?
I'll give it to you. It was Carl Weathers.
Weathers, yeah.
Well done. Well done. Okay, we just got a couple more here. What movie does Mickey die in, the coach, and how did he die?
Ooh. I cannot remember.
He died in Rocky 3, and he died of a heart attack. Do you remember who coached Rocky against Clubber Lang after Mickey died?
No.
That was Apollo Creed.
That was Apollo. Okay.
That was Apollo Creed. Okay. How many Rocky movies are there?
Ooh, are you counting the Creed movies too?
Now, this is a very generous question because there's actually 3 right answers. If we're talking about, you can give me the answer.
Exactly.
Rocky, add Creed, or even the movies that are coming.
I believe there are 7 Rocky movies, 2 Creed movies.
The answer is 6 Rocky movies, 2 Creed movies, but if you include the 2 more coming, that's 10. So the answer was incorrect, but you got 7 out of 14 right, and the tie goes to the runner, Coach.
Woo-hoo!
You win a crayon ring. Yay. Congratulations.
I am so happy. That was tight, man. I was sweating it.
Well done. Well done. Especially not having seen it in a while. All right.
Unlike when your brother did this and he cheated by watching the movie beforehand.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, that's it. If we had him on, he would have watched the entire series. And that's why he's not on. He's suspended for cheating. Yeah, we had to kick him off for a show.
Got to have standards.
All right, Coach. Back to our more serious questions. Can you talk about who's returning next season and talk about your recruiting class? What are you looking at next fall?
We're looking at somewhere in the neighborhood of 30 wrestlers on the team to start the season. We've got, of course, Zoe Nowicki coming back. Cassidy Block, unfortunately, has used up all of her eligibility.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize that.
She's a grad student, so she's going to help us out with some coaching, I think, but can't compete anymore. We've got our returning 170, Lacey Young, who has been ranked numerous times, but has been one of the people that was bitten by an injury bug at the end of the year. We've got 155. We've got our returning 155 who had taken fourth at Women's Nationals 2 years ago, blew out her ACL, had to have full reconstructive surgery. She'll be back. Maggie Elliott is her name.
Oh yeah,
You remember Maggie? Okay.
I do. Yeah.
Yeah. We've got some incoming freshmen as well that are of note. We've got Emily Mendez from Washington State coming in. She took third at Fargo last year, I believe. State champ this year in high school. We've got, gosh, I don't know. We got a real interesting returning sophomore, Megan Vondrasek, who
Oh
was
yeah.
really tearing it up before she
Yep.
had an injury partway through the season. She was turning it on. She was winning tournaments pretty frequentty and looking really incredible, and just had a bad run of luck. And
She was ranked top 10 at one point, and likely would have been a All-American candidate for the event.
Absolutely, yeah. I think Lacey, Maggie, and Megan all were in that same category.
Yep.
It would have been in contention at least.
So, Coach, how do you approach recruiting? You've got Michigan's a pretty good wrestling state for young women. You've got some candidates there. Are you looking to be like a rallying point for the best of Michigan, or do you invest a lot in reaching farther? Obviously, you got to recruit from Washington. So, how do you play that out in your head?
I try to reach out to the best girls that'll be the best fit for our team.
Yeah.
Not everybody's a fit for every school or for every team, and so we're looking around the country for the most part. Yes, I would love. I've said it for years. If I could just get the top 6 girls out of Michigan every year, we'd have an incredible team.
Yeah.
And that's just, unfortunately, a lot of the top 6 don't want to go on to continue wrestling in college, and that's always a real downer when you see that talent just walk away. But it does, and there's nothing we can do about that. I do try to get as many of those top ladies as I can. And then we look beyond our borders. We've got, I believe we've got 10 states covered this year in our team. I think we got 8 states covered so far with freshmen that are coming in. And so, yeah, you do. You have to. Our sport is still growing. It's growing incredibly, but it's still at a point where you can't. It's not like men's teams where they can recruit from within a 2 or 3 hour drive of the campus. We're still looking much further afield and making all those connections, trying to find people that have the will and the interest to keep going. I often will point out to people that just because you did really well in high school, those people often don't seem to do as well in college. Sometimes they just don't, they don't have the drive or whatever. So it's a matter of finding that right fit for your program. It's a matter of finding the girls that want to be successful academically as well as athletically. Last year we were the national runner-up team for Scholar All-American in the U.S. and this year we've got 7 individual Scholar All-Americans, and I think we're going to be defending our national runner-up, or perhaps even moving up. Those haven't been announced yet, but we're always looking to be good both on the mat and in the classroom.
Well, congrats. That's a great accolade to have. Can you give some advice to young women who are interested in wrestling in college, and maybe even in particular, Adrian? Is there a way that they can contact you if they're interested in investigating, being a part of your program?
Certainly. The best advice I can give to anybody that wants to wrestle in college is we as coaches do our best to find all the top wrestlers around the country. We all do. But women's wrestling is still so scattered. We don't have big lists like they do for the guys, where you can go to any state and look at the top 50 or 100 guys in every state. We're working on building to that level. So we need you to reach out to us in a lot of cases and make that first contact. Find a school that's got your degree fields that you want, and then make a connection with the coach, either an email or every school has a recruiting form. Ours we found at adrianbulldogs.com. That'll take you right to our athletics page. Scroll over to women's wrestling recruit form. Boom, you can reach out that way. You can send emails. If you want it, you can make it happen. Something I commonly say is, I don't care what you've done. I care where you're going. And so some people haven't done a lot, and that's okay. You didn't know about wrestling. You didn't have an opportunity in your state to do it until recently. Great. You've got a year experience, 2 years experience, whatever it might be. You can still come into a college program. There's still lots of opportunities out there for growth. I still say roughly, I bet half the girls in college didn't wrestle freestyle at all prior to getting into college. You don't have to have all this experience. I know a lot of coaches, high school coaches and club coaches that aren't necessarily very knowledgeable, tell their athletes that all the time. Well, you're not good enough to wrestle in college because you haven't done these things. I don't think that's true. It's all what you've got in here and what you've got in here.
Right.
If you want it, there's a place for you. You can make it happen.
And I think what you're talking about has a lot to do with, the young women you see that level up in college. Sometimes you get the hierarchy of who's who in high school, and, Flo and has their rankings. We have our rankings, et cetera. But like you say, that can totally change in college. And I think what you're talking about is why it changes. If you come into college with a desire to grow, the level of training you can get and the level of competition and the partners you can get, you do see that happen with, young women who maybe didn't crack the top 8 or never made the podium at a national event, suddenly are, making waves at the college level.
We've got lots of women who, even if they've got a fair amount of experience, just never got a chance to compete at any national tournaments, whether it be financially or whatever. And so Maggie Elliott on our team is a good example of that. She never wrestled in any national tournaments. Nobody knew of her. She just wrestled on her high school team with the boys. And she showed up on our campus and placed 4th at women's nationals as a freshman. There are people out there like that, and finding those diamonds in the rough, or whatever you might want to call them. I find that to be fun. That's part of the challenge. Anybody can find the Fargo champs. Those are easy to find. Find the girls that are almost at that level that nobody knows about. Those are fun.
Yeah, and sometimes, not every time, but you do see that happen where you have young women in high school who maybe had the accolades. They got the their blue chip, or they got the awards, and then they either fall off the map, or they're just not the same in college because there's this sense of I'm the best, and you got to get better, right? I mean, you got to be aiming for higher goals and higher prizes in development.
Absolutely. And sometimes they've burned out, right? Sometimes, there's that theory that everybody only has a certain number of matches in them. Some of these ladies, they're driven super hard all through high school, and they might have, 500 matches under their belt by the time they graduate from high school.
Right.
And that's a lot. And sometimes those ladies just don't have the desire to keep going, or you just don't know. You really, it's hard to predict. You have to get to know the person. You have to find how to motivate that person, to be successful and keep that growth happening.
Now, would you say, well, for a while it seemed like Oklahoma was kind of a gathering place for interacting with college programs, Oklahoma Folk Style Nationals. Is that still true? Is that something you participate in?
Yeah, they were going to move it to Colorado this year.
Right. Okay,
of course, then it got postponed/canceled.
Yep.
But yeah, we would go to that every year, and we would be at that type of tournament. Obviously at Fargo, obviously we've been going to Gotham. We've traveled quite a bit around the country to try to reach out and meet girls in their home territory. But it's hard, especially since the seasons all overlap. It's really hard to get out on the road like that.
Yeah. I want to ask you a few more questions about your program. Can we go in the room and, when practices are happening, who are your team leaders?
Oh, well, actually, we've got a really good team of hard workers. And I would say on any given day, it could be almost anybody in the room, right? Not everybody's having their best day on every day. And when you've got a level of commitment from the whole team and they're working hard, it could be a freshman that steps up, somebody who hasn't really done much and kind of pushes the rest of the effort. Often it is the older ladies in the room, but not always.
Yeah.
Some of our freshmen, we've got a freshman out of Florida, Angela Russo, who she won't stop. The girl is just constantly going. And she often pushes some of the other girls when they're starting to feel a little down. She'll be a sophomore coming into next year, but we've got a handful of girls like that in the room, and it's just awesome. I'm not a big screamer and yeller in practice. I don't think that works real well for me. I want them to work hard because they want to work hard. They want to achieve great goals, and having them do it is awesome.
Now, you wrestled Tiffin twice this year.
Yeah.
Can you talk about the importance of duels and rivalries, for women's wrestling?
It's fairly new to us because we frankly didn't have a team that was capable of doing duels until just a few years ago.
Okay.
The first couple of years before I was head coach, we had a numbers issue where we really weren't doing many duels. But it's fun to be able to go out there and challenge other teams. I think just in general in wrestling, I think duels are very important. I think that that really is where you build up your fan base. Fans don't care as much about tournaments. You can't sit there for 8-10 hours watching a tournament, but they can come and watch a duel. And like I said, we're in a really good wrestling area in Michigan, so a lot of our fans are just local people that love wrestling, and they'll show up and watch the duels, and they cheer us on whether we win or lose. But of course, everybody wants to win. This one was weird with Tiffin. The injuries toward the end of the year got to us. We went to their place earlier in the season and we won. They came to our place later in the season and they won. So yeah, it's formed a bit of a rivalry between us, and I think that's fun and healthy. And now that we've got some other schools nearby that have joined in, I think over the next few years it's going to become a really interesting set of rivalries.
Now,
when we first started our program, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Did you do the NWCA duels this year in Kentucky?
Yes, we did.
Okay. Was this how many years have you done that?
We haven't done it nonstop. We did it our first 2 years, and then we didn't do it for 2, and then we did it again this year for the first time.
Okay.
We'll be doing it again this coming season.
And of course, you did both the WCWA Nationals and the NCWWC, NCAA event. Is your plan to continue to attend both those events?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
There's a big interest in keeping the WCWA going. I don't know if you know, I'm actually the president of the WCWA at the moment.
Okay.
So we're working on revising the bylaws to reflect the new world of women's wrestling. It's no longer needed as a governing body per se.
Yeah.
And so it's more of a interdivisional championship type event.
Right.
And obviously we've got Missouri Valley kind of filling that role in the first semester. So the WCWA tournament is something similar to that in the second semester.
Good. Well, we've brought up this topic a lot, and I've asked different coaches and athletes what their opinion is and thoughts, and sometimes the WCWA gets picked on. Ashley Sword is a huge advocate for it. So, what's your best case for, the WCWA having a vibrant future?
Well, the best case for it, I think, is a couple of things. One, USA Wrestling would love for it to continue. The National Wrestling Coaches Association would love for it to continue. They're big fans of having interdivisional competition. And, as we develop, we could get to a point where we're not seeing much of that. We might see, just like on the men's side, the teams don't often cross boundaries much.
Right.
And I think we're seeing an opportunity here on the women's side to keep that from happening as frequently, and maybe keeping a little bit more of this cross-pollination going on. So there's a group of people that would like that. Plus some of the smaller schools, they don't feel that they're ready to jump in either at the NAIA or the NCAA or perhaps their JUCO programs. Some of the JUCO programs are actually quite good, and they don't have a national championship at this point, but I know they're working on it.
Right.
So I think having that opportunity for schools to get together, we had roughly half the schools in the country this year at the WCWA. A lot of the teams that weren't there have expressed interest in coming back or joining for next year. I think it's just going to come down to what can we come up with as a reason for that. One of the big reasons that seems to draw most people in is the WCWA has always had a letter of intent that is a binding document, meaning that no other member of the WCWA can steal that kid from you once they've committed to your school. And I think that has a lot of interest from what we've heard. And then just the ability to compete, I think, is huge. And we're looking at some ways to make it a little bit more creative. Perhaps instead of having a fee to be a member of the organization and then a fee for the tournament at the end of the year, we treat it more like a conference, and you pay a conference fee at the beginning, and that covers the tournament later on. Those are things we're kicking around right now, trying to work out. We've got 3 or 4 cities already asking us if they can host it next year. So there seems to be a demand, and as long as there's a demand, we'll keep it going.
All right. Well, good. Well, thanks for balancing the scales there, because I think we've had a few that have had maybe adverse opinions, but I think it can have a really solid place when it finds its niche, right? When it finds that right context, it can really serve a need in women's college wrestling.
Just like it did for so many years, it filled the need, and then it kind of shied away from things happened around us that made it not as useful. But I think there's a demand. I mean, certainly it sounds like there is. If half the programs in the country wanted it, there's definitely a demand.
All right, one final question, Coach. Just your thoughts on the NCAA development. You know, it's obviously an exciting time. There's a big push to get to the magic number of 40 to be able to get, you know, a sanctioned national championship. You know all that. What are your thoughts on where things are at right now?
Well, we're very close. I think we're at 36 teams going from memory here at this point that have established, which means we're only 4 away from that number. If the pandemic hadn't happened, I think we probably would have had those 4 announced by now. So I think we're going to see that happen in the very near future. Once we get to the 40, of course, then there's a whole process of applying for championship status. It's going to take a few years, unfortunately. I know a lot of people wish we could just snap our fingers and make it happen instantly, but I certainly don't have that power, and I don't think anybody else does either. Just about it. 10 years ago, there were six or 8 schools that had women's wrestling. Here we are at 82, I believe, is the current count. You know, it's an incredible growth pattern, and I don't see it slowing down. We're quickly going to pass. I mean, we've already passed. I mean, there's 64 D2s and 79 D1s on the men's side, something like that. So we've actually passed those numbers. And there are going to be women's wrestling programs in places that don't have men's.
Right, right. Are you concerned about the growth being too fast?
Yes, I think we all are. There's certainly a difference in the number of recruits coming out. I mean, the high school rates are growing very quickly. There are a lot more girls wrestling in high school. We're adding 5,000 a year or more. Problem is, those are mostly freshmen, and so it's a 3-year gap before they're available for us at the college level.
Right.
I'm not noticing any real shortfall in recruits though this year. To be honest, I thought it would be worse than it is. So I think next year might be a little tighter. We'll see.
Okay. Well, Coach, we thank you for your time. I know you're a busy man. Head coach of a women's program, architect, president of the WCWA, and, you know, connoisseur of Rocky trivia. And, you know, I know you've got Rocky movies to watch, so I don't want to keep you from that. But really appreciate.
I have to go verify that you were correct.
Really appreciate your time. I'll private message you and get your address to make sure that you get your crayon ring. And I'll send you, going to send you an AWW t-shirt too. But we really appreciate your time and all that you're doing for women's wrestling. And congrats on your success in your program.
Thank you. And we appreciate what you're doing for women's wrestling as well. I enjoy reading a lot of your stuff, and obviously your video stuff is pretty good too. So.
Well, we're honored. Thanks, Coach. You have a great day, and maybe we'll catch up again.
Sounds great.
Thanks, Coach.